In a world full of bad news, this podcast is a source of good news, real talk, and real inspiration. On this show, you'll hear stories of growth, legacy, and entrepreneurship. Everyday people who overcome real challenges to build something meaningful. My name is Stephen Padernacht, third generation Bronx born and raised in the real estate game. This is the Padernacht Podcast, brick by brick. Today's guest is someone who represents business, legacy, and family at the highest level. He's a husband, a man of faith, and a proud girl dad to 3 amazing daughters. And on top of that, he's built a business that's helped small and mid-sized companies save real money and take control of their payment solutions. He spent nearly 2 decades mastering the merchant services space, but even more importantly, he's mastered showing up for his family while building a business from the ground up. Today, we're sitting down with Drew Gill. Not to be mistaken for Drew Hill. Am I right?
Definitely.
Did you get that a lot growing up?
Absolutely, all the time,
Yeah.
Especially in high school, you know what I mean? Like, I went to, Cardinal Hayes in the Bronx, so you already know what it's like in the Bronx. Everybody's got a joke, so walking through school, they be like, oh, they go my man Drew Hill right there.
Yeah.
He's like, get the class.
And that was like, so how old are you?
I'm 43.
All right, so we're the same generation. So like when we were coming up in high school, Drew Hill was like the shit.
That was the thing.
Like,
sleeping in my bed, all of those bangers.
So, during that time, I guess, I can see how that.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
So you're a Hayes guy?
Cardinal Hayes, yeah.
Really? Okay, private school.
Don't talk about Mount St. Michael's too much, all right? We don't really like those guys too much.
Did you play any sports at Hayes?
I got hurt when I was in 8th grade, getting ready to go to high school. I got hit by a car, fractured my collarbone. So the doctor told me, he said, listen, if you plan on going to play ball, he's like, you won't have a neck. So,
Jeez. Which collarbone?
Right here.
Yeah, I broke my collarbone also.
Yeah,
7th grade.
Yeah.
Playing ball.
Yeah, mine was not listening to mom. So,
I wasn't. I wasn't necessarily an athlete. I love playing sports. I played rec basketball. I played rec football. Baseball. I played little league and whatever. But I didn't play any sports in high school. Actually, let me not say that. I was on the bowling team. Okay.
If we call that a sport, right?
Well, the reason why I say that is because I'm sure that some of my boys are watching this going to be like, wait a second, you didn't mention that you were on the bowling team. I was on the bowling team, admittingly. But in high school, so I went to Fordham, right? Fordham Prep, very proudly went to Fordham Prep. But in high school, if you were on a team, you didn't have to go to gym class.
Oh, yeah, because you already making a requirement.
You were an athlete, right? So, and, listen.
So that was the cheat code for
That
you?
was a cheat code. And listen, not that I minded going to gym, but, we wore uniforms.
Yeah.
And we had to wear like dress shirts.
You had to change out. I know exactly what you're talking about.
You had to change out, go to gym class, and then change back in all sweaty and all that. And I was like, listen, I'm not.
So you know what I used to do?
Tell me.
Everybody's playing ball. I go to the ice cream machine, get me strawberry shortcake ice cream, walk around talking trash to everybody that's playing ball. They're like, yo, Gil, why you didn't change? I'm like, I don't want to be sweaty when I go back to class. Gym is first period. Why I got to be sweaty for the next 7 periods? You crazy? So I feel you on that. That's definitely, something I would do. I would say athlete, I don't know if you want to consider it. I was a swimmer, So,
no, I consider that an athlete.
So I grew
Are you kidding me?
I grew up in the boys club in Harlem. So I was on the swimming team for, a good majority of my time, in high school. And then obviously, like most guys, you start getting into girls and that type of stuff. So, that kind of fades away. Like who wants to go swim when you want to go hang out? So, things kind of change.
Swimming's a tough sport.
It is. It is a lot of training, especially when it's cold outside.
What did you specialize in?
Freestyle and breaststroke.
Okay. Yeah. All right. No, that's no joke.
Yeah.
That's no joke.
And our coach was no joke. Old school Puerto Rican dude. He had the bamboo stick for us if we wasn't moving fast enough while we was swimming.
That's interesting, right? Because you don't think of Harlem as having a swim team.
True, but because, obviously, in the inner city, 5 boroughs, the boys club or even, the boys and girls club, is known in those particular neighborhoods, right? So in Harlem, the one I went to was the Jefferson Park Boys Club. They had multiple downtown Queens, in different places. So that was just another, extracurricular activity that you could actually partake in. Obviously dudes played basketball. Yeah. Swimming was just fun. And, a bunch of my boys that I actually went there with, they all were on the swim team. So it's like, yo, my boys are doing it as a way to hang out.
Yep.
I liked swimming. It was fun to me. So, you know, I enjoyed it.
And you grew up in Harlem?
Yeah.
Spanish Harlem. Whereabouts?
So me and my mom, we lived on 105th between 1st and 2nd.
Ooh, El Barrio.
Yeah, El Barrio.
El Barrio.
yeah, definitely.
Dime.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, and it's funny because my mom's Panamanian. My dad was from Trinidad. So now, even as a grown man, people come up to me and they start talking in Spanish, and I'm like, I know what you're saying, but I can't respond to you, you know, because they know, they're like, he seems like he might be Spanish. I think so, you know. So, but yeah, a lot of culture in the neighborhood, you know.
For sure.
Grew up around, you know, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Black. You know, it was definitely a melting pot, you know.
And you, so you grew up brothers and sisters?
No, I'm an only child.
Only child. Okay. Grew up both your parents?
My parents got divorced when I was 6.
Okay.
But the one thing that both of them told me in the divorce is that, listen, we are your parents still, right? So regardless, your mother's your mother, your father's your father, and what's going on between us has nothing to do with your situation or your relationship with us.
That's super helpful.
Yeah, it was very helpful. You know, I recall a time, honestly, where I think I was like 14 or 15, and my dad used to come pick me up all the time on the weekends to, you know, for me to hang out with him. And he said one time, he's like, look, you're old enough now, you could take the train. So I would have to take the train from Brooklyn to Harlem to go visit him on this one, I think it was a Saturday, either a Friday or Saturday. I can't really remember right now. But I tell my mom, I'm like, all right, Ma, see you later. I got my duffel bag. I walk to the train on 110th and Lex, get to the train station. I go downstairs, and I'm about to pay the fare, and I'm like, I'm not going. I'm like, I got to take 3 trains to get there. It's Saturday. I got to take the 6, the 4, and then I got to take the 2, and then I got to walk 3 blocks in the avenue to get to his house. So I get back home, unlock the door. My mom's looking at me. She's like, what are you doing here? And I said, I don't want to go. She's like, all right, that's your decision.
Yeah.
She's like, what I would like you to do is pick up the phone and tell your father what you decided, because it's not my decision, it's your decision.
Yeah.
So it's fine if that's what you decided, because you don't feel like doing all of that right now, but you need, you know, so they were good like that. They had, you know, obviously their differences, but as parents, they both were always there for me.
They were able to co-parent before that was a term.
Before that was a term, exactly. There was, you know, 80s and 90s, there was no term like that. It was either your parents were there or your parents weren't there for you. You know what I mean?
And during that time, I remember a lot of people that I knew that didn't have both their parents. Like you know, it wasn't so easy for the parents to even be able to co-parent because whatever the case may be, you know, like the divorce was rocky, so to say, just to say it nicely and be PC. But, you know, either one of them did something really malicious to the other person or whatever it was, and the other person couldn't get out of their own way to help their child understand that you have to have both people. It's important for a child to have their mother and father, whether it's a boy or a girl, to have that in their life.
Very true.
Just at minimum from a support standpoint.
Yeah,
and
very true.
Every kid needs to be loved, and as much love as possible. It's never going to hurt.
Definitely.
All right, so you grew up in Harlem, and then were you still in Harlem when you went to Hayes?
Yeah, so when I went to high school, I would, you know, same kind of thing. I had to commute to the Bronx, right? So I would take the 6 to the 4, take the 4 from 125th up to 149th Street, and then walk up to school every day. That was, you know, that was
because Hayes on the concourse, right?
Right on the concourse.
Concourse
it was on
what?
160th, I think, in the concourse, about there, right by the McDonald's. Anybody that knows the Grand Concourse, the big post office and McDonald's, Hayes is right there.
Around that, because I know it so well because that's where Yankee Stadium is.
Yep, exactly. One of my best friends to this day. He used to live in the building across from Yankee Stadium, Executive Towers.
Ah, okay.
So from his apartment, he could see the games.
Really?
Yeah, he always brags about it.
Lucky dude growing up.
Absolutely.
After Hayes, what'd you do? You went to college?
Yeah, I went to college. I went to Hofstra out on Long Island.
Okay.
So that was a little interesting, right? So I went to college, and obviously, you know, when you go to college, you get a newfound sense of, like, say, freedom per se, right? So for me, I was DJing during my time in high school, went to college. I got to know a lot of the dudes that ran, you know, the frats, as well as some of the different, you know, activity groups on campus, as
Yep.
they call them. And, with that, I was able to build some relationships that allowed me to actually, in my first semester as a freshman, DJ on the homecoming float.
Oh,
right?
nice.
So a lot of
Nice.
people were like, wait, how did you negotiate to, and I'm like, I don't know. I just talked to people. They thought it was cool. And they said, you could DJ on the float this year. And, from there, I really got to a point that music just became everything, right? Like I kind of forgot about class for a little bit.
Okay, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. If I let one of my boys tell it, he'd be like, "Yeah, you forgot about class a lot of bit," because there was a whole semester that I actually didn't do well, right? Like I failed out, and then it became a situation where I said, "All right, you know what? I'm going to take a semester or two off." And I actually started working in a mortgage company. So now I have DJ and I have the mortgage company, and I'm like, wow, I'm making decent money as a 20-something-year-old kid. Do I really need school?
Yeah.
And what happened? 2008, the market crash.
The real estate
right?
crash.
And I'm like, you know what, Drew, you got to really think about what it is you want to do here, because this is all great, but I'm watching grown men in the office fighting over flat screen TVs because they can't pay their bills. So at that point, I decided to go back. I went to Berkeley in Manhattan and decided to, finish my my bachelor's degree there.
Okay.
And while doing that, I was working in Scarsdale at the Equinox parking cars.
Okay.
So that was my journey to finish my bachelor's degree.
It sounds to me like every one of these steps, like from being on a swim team to high school to college, like you're always working.
Yeah, always.
Was that something that your parents had instilled in you, or was it something that you kind of just naturally gravitated towards? Because a lot of college kids, listen, I worked like 4 or 5 jobs in college. Like I was delivering pizzas, I was doing this, I was doing so much. I was throwing parties, I was booking DJs, throwing parties. I went to Post, not far from you.
Yeah.
And so the
I did
Hofstra
a
kids
few
would
parties
come
over there.
Yeah. So like that was something that was always instilled in me from my father, was be a hard worker, and money is extremely important, not because of what you can get for it, but because of the ability to be able to do the things that you wanted to do. So was that something that was instilled in you by your parents?
Definitely. I would say, both my mother and father were very influential in terms of, you got to work hard, you got to do what you got to do so you can provide and take care of yourself. My mom, obviously, with my parents getting divorced, my mom, I would see this woman leave the house at 8 o'clock in the morning and come back at 7 o'clock. She was a social work supervisor my entire life, right? So longer than I was alive, I've been alive, she was a social worker. And when she came home, this was the days of, you had a laptop, right? She was coming home with physical file folders of work that she had to do for cases and stuff like that. And with that, it would be spread out across the dinner table. So I would see this, and that's, I would say, from her is where I got a lot of my work ethic. My dad as well, when I would, go spend time with him either on the weekends or like say, there was a school recess and I hung out with him a few more days than normal. I would go to work with him. He worked in a body shop, right? And he would be out of the house 7:30 in the morning, and he was regimented. Like he had his clothes ready. He's like, all right, I got to have my cup of tea. I'm going to get to the shop. And he was a guy that didn't believe that, although he did a work that was dirty, where you're fixing cars and, most mechanics or auto body mechanics, you got dust and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
He wasn't like that. He's like, listen, I go to work. You don't know what I do, right? I'm nice and clean when I get there. Change out. He puts on his work clothes, and then he gets to work, does his thing. Same thing, switches out at the end of the day and goes back. So just, I guess, seeing that has me, very structured. And then even, if we take it back to, the high school I went to, right? It was an all boys high school, and there was a lot of structure there as well, right? Like you had to be clean cut. You wore a shirt and tie, khakis, that type of stuff.
Yep.
So it just really, it bred, you got to do the right thing and make sure that you present yourself well whenever you're in a room.
Have you ever thought about like my father passed away in 2009, and I remember him telling me before he died, the year before he died, while he was sick, he said, you're going to realize that as you get older, you're going to see more and more of my traits in you as an adult. And now that I'm 44, I see it, right? Like a simple example, right? Like my father was like a stickler for dishes. You don't leave dishes in the sink overnight. Like it's the smallest thing, but like it's something that now I don't even realize it subconsciously. I'm in my house. I'm like, yo, you can't leave the dishes overnight.
So I'm laughing right now because literally I don't know if I still have the picture in my phone, but earlier this week, my oldest daughter, you know, and Mike Press knows her. He's met her because, you know, he does content with us and stuff like that. But I wake up the next morning to go to the gym, and there's a container from yesterday from her lunch, and it's just sitting there. So I take a picture, and I'm like contemplating because it's 5 a.m. I'm like, do you send this crazy text right now, like we don't leave dishes in the sink, or do you go do your workout and then send it a little bit more politically correct? So I waited and actually, you know, sent to her. I said, hey, you know, going forward, please make sure you don't leave a dish in the sink overnight. You know, she told me a little excuse, and I'm like, all right, I hear you're tired, but still, like, that's how I was raised, exactly how you're saying. You don't leave dishes overnight. You clean up after yourself. You make sure that, you know, everything is presentable, because I guess the way my mom always said it was, you don't know if something happens to you, right? Like if you have an accident or something, somebody's got to bring you home. How are you presenting your home to the person that's coming in the house? You know what I mean?
Yo, so two things to that, right? First of all, my father always used to tell me, this is before, in real estate, it used to be that like you brought people in your car and you took them looking for houses. So your car was your office. So he was super stickler about having a clean car because that was your office on wheels. So he always used to say, you got to make sure you have a clean car. You got to make sure you have a clean car. And as far as like presenting, and you never know if something's going to happen, right? Like my mom would always say, like, you don't know if company's going to come over.
Bingo.
And I'm not having nobody think that I'm running a pigsty here.
Yep,
So
exactly.
it was like,
Very same upbringing.
Dinner would not be over, and my mom was already doing dishes. I'm like, Ma, let us finish finish dinner first. And she's like, nope. I'll do the first dish. Then when you finish, you come in here, you do your dishes. And then, you know, growing up in the Bronx, right? Like a lot of not leaving dishes in the sink also was because, you know, listen, if you left dishes in the sink, you could breed roaches.
Other situations. And that's exactly, you know, living in an apartment building in Harlem, you know, growing up. That's exactly how my mother was. She's like, we don't know what people do next door, but we know what we can do, right? So, you know, that she was big on that, my mom. It was like, you do not leave that. That's like unheard of, right? So even I'll go to her house to eat. I got my kids with me, my wife's with me, and I'll be in the kitchen. And she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm making sure you don't come in here and do this. You know? So.
How old is your daughter, the one that you were going to text?
21. The oldest is 21.
So you could let her text fly at 5 a.m. for a 21-year-old, bro.
I was trying to be cool.
You're better than me, dude. Because I got 3 kids in my house, and I'll be letting text fly on the group chat. I got a family group chat, and I see dishes in the sink. I got this, I got that. I'm bop, bop, bop. Yo, I don't care what time it is. I don't care what time it is. They're grown. Like they're old enough. They're old enough to be out late at night doing what they're doing.
That is true.
Then you're gonna be up. What's the expression? If you want to hoot with the owls, you got to soar with the eagles. You want to be.
You want to be out. That's true. That is true.
But you're a better man than me.
Yeah, I'm trying to be better. I think that's the key word, because I think the other Drew would have been like, why is this in the sink? This is unacceptable. But I'm trying to be different every day.
That's great.
Better by the day.
I'm just busting your chops, man. That's the right. You did the right thing.
Appreciate you.
All right, so is that your oldest?
That's my oldest. I have two younger daughters after her. So the joke I make is that they're my little R&B group. So Diamond, Destiny, and Dream are the names.
Diamond, Destiny, and Dream.
Yeah.
It sounds like an R&B group.
That's why I say that, you know.
All right, so and what are the age groups? What are the ages?
21, 11, and 10.
21, 11, and 10. You took a break.
Little bit.
So your 21-year-old, does she I would imagine that there is that age gap, that she takes on a role of a mentor to the other 2 girls?
I would say in some aspects, right? Because it's funny, there's some times where there's things that my middle daughter says that I'm like, wait, who's the 21 and who's the 11? Because like just the maturity level and just certain things about my daughter Destiny, just in stuff that she says, like even we've been in stores and just parents going by, they're like, she's very mature for her age, right? And just even things that she says to me, for example, from a business perspective, she said to me, she's like, Daddy, you never give up. I've never seen you give up. And I'm like, okay, this is getting real now.
That's an amazing thing for her to say and know about you.
If she's picking up on that, right, and she's seeing that just tells me how much other stuff is she seeing and paying attention to that she sees being done by not only myself, but her mother. You know?
That is an amazing thing for her to see and say about you at that young age.
Yeah, I thought so too. I was actually blown away when she said it.
Think of that full circle moment, though. We were just talking about things that you see in yourself that you saw from your parents, and now you have these three little girls that are now seeing things in you that you got from them, and how when they get older and they, God willing, if they're blessed enough to have children, they're gonna now pay it forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
that's really something to commend yourself for.
No, and it's funny because being a parent's not easy, right? There's no manual, there's no script. You're just going off of each day experience and trying to be better. So I think, one of the things that my wife and I do in our house is that, like, we'll call each other out on stuff, right? That's something that we've been big on recently, where it's like, hey, all right, you're doing too much with that. Like, let's maybe figure out a different way, or the way you said that wasn't.
Is this in the relationship with each other or with the kids?
With everybody, whether it's to me, whether it's to the kids, like, we're big on, making sure, hey, listen, that didn't come out the way it should have, or that was a little bit rough, could you have said that better, right? And I think it's just on the lines of self-awareness, right? Being a little bit more self-aware, because if I was talking about this maybe 5-10 years ago, I would say however I'm going to say it, and that's it. How you felt is how you felt, and end the story. But, now is, all right, how can we adjust the approach a little bit, because they are watching. They are paying attention to what's being said and how it's being said.
Well, I think that it's you touched on a really interesting point, that, like, if you and your wife are both committed to doing that, that's the thing, right? Like, how long have you been married?
We've been married 13 years, together almost 18.
God bless.
Thank you.
That's really awesome. And is your wife a business owner as well?
She is. So she's actually, believe it or not, she's actually owned more businesses than me, honestly.
Really?
So she worked in a beauty salon for a while. When she had our second daughter, Destiny, when she went back to work, there was a little bit of a shakeup in the shop. So she's like, I'm not comfortable with what they're doing here. So I said to her, because I'm just like that, I'm like, do your own thing. Open your own shop. So her and one of the other girls that worked in the shop decided to open up a shop together. And they did a salon suite in White Plains at Solar Salon Studios.
Okay.
So it was interesting, because they said, can you go with us when we go to see the place? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
So we go, we're looking at it, and the guy who owned the space is giving us what the cost of the space is. So they're talking amongst themselves, and I pull him to the side and said, so how much you need right now just for us to hold on to this so they can make a decision? He's like, give me 500 and, I could hold it until Monday for you, because I think it was either Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
So I said to him, give me 5 minutes. I walk to Main Street in White Plains, go to the Citibank, pull out the 500, come back. I give him the 500. And they're both looking at me like, what did you just do? I said, I just gave him your security deposit. You guys go have lunch and figure out how you're going to make this work. And that's what they ended up doing. So they did that for a while. COVID kind of put the kibosh to it. And then she has a brownie business that she does from the house, where she does treats for people. It's called Brownie Queen D. If you're on Instagram, she does, a lot of different decorative work with fondant and all that type of stuff. So, like, if you're having a theme party or whatever, she'll create the theme and put it on there for her. And, she's making the brownies from scratch. So, one of my best friend, we were talking about him earlier, Drew, that I grew up with and went to school with. He sent a clip the other day, because she did some brownies for our other friend's 50th birthday.
Okay.
And, like, he sends me this audio message, and he's like, I can't leave the brownies alone. They got me fiending. I'm like, this guy is a clown. But he's literally singing on the recording, and she's like, I got to use this. I'm like, yeah, you definitely have to use it. So she's
got that entrepreneurial bug.
She's got that bug, and I think where the kids are concerned, where, like I said, they're watching, they actually are seeing that. And each of my little ones have done their own little businesses. So Dream has a bracelet business where she makes bracelets from scratch as well. Destiny wants to do cakes, because she makes cakes for people. So, like, it was my birthday last week, so she made me a cake from scratch.
Okay.
And then Diamond, being the oldest, she actually wants to do her own, like, beauty studio, but it's centered around faith, right?
Gotcha.
So
okay.
she's like trying to figure out how to incorporate, God and, being spiritual into it, where it's not solely driven on money.
Gotcha. And is faith a big part of your household?
It is. It has become a huge part of our household, right? Because you can't do the things you do without God, right?
Very true.
Even you can't really see it now, but I have these dog tags on right now that say "Man of God" that our buddy Eddie Wezo gave me.
Big
at
shout
one
out
of his
to Eddie
events.
Queso.
Yeah.
Worship and Network.
Yes.
Big shout out to
I
Eddie.
got it at his last event that he did. And I felt the need to wear it today. It was sitting on the dresser when I was getting ready to come here, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna throw this on. I said I wanna rock this today.
Why is faith so important to you?
I just think, as a kid, faith was confusing to me, right? And the reason why I say that is both my parents are Catholic. My grandmother was Pentecostal, so on the different holidays, we wouldn't go to the Catholic church. We would go to Pentecostal church where everybody had big hats and suits and decked out, especially, my grandmother's church was on the west side of Harlem on 122nd and Lenox. So,
That's an experience.
You go over there, everybody's fly, they dressed up, looking, real dapper. And then it got to a point, in high school, going to Catholic high school, it was almost like they were just trying to bang you over the head with religion, right? It wasn't why you should understand it. It's just memorize the Our Father, memorize, this prayer or that prayer, but there was no real context to it, But as we've been kind of, growing in the faith, my wife and I, we started at one church. We went to Hillsong that they used to have the church down on 34th, I think it was.
Okay, I'm not familiar, but okay.
Yeah, so the church was on 34th, I would say almost on the scale of like a mega church in a sense where you had to stand online even when it was cold to get in to the venue and that type of stuff. And there was a bit of a, scandal in the church with the lead pastor. So we kind of moved away from the church a little bit. And then my wife kind of started doing her own thing where she was getting into the Bible. And I would joke with her. I'm like, you know what? You're like deeper in your walk with the Lord than I am, right? And, my barber, Erwin, he's a pastor. And I go to the shop, I get a cut, and he's always talking about God. And my wife's talking about God, and different people's talking about God. And I'm just like, you know what? I gotta tap in a little bit more. And I started using the Bible app where I would read a verse a day, kind of getting a little bit more into it. And I would say very recently, probably about a year ago, my oldest daughter found Harvest Fields in the Bronx, right, on East Tremont. And, she would be going and she would take her sisters with her.
Oh, okay.
And my wife says to me one day, she's like, we can't really let the girls go to church and we're not going. Like, how does that make us look as parents?
That's really, really, really good insight on her part.
Yeah. So from that, the following week, we said, all right, we need to go. And we went with them. And it was a totally different experience, right? It was a welcoming. I would say, just if I'm being 100% with you, walking in, it was a little intimidating because everybody's like, God bless you, God bless you, God bless you. I'm like, are y'all people serious right now? Now I walk in church and I'm like, hey, God bless you, happy Sunday, right? But it took a little bit of time to become more comfortable and really, hone in and listen to the word, hear the word, accept it, and now it's just part of who we are now.
Yep. And so all three of your girls were baptized?
Yes, we all got baptized actually a few months ago as a family at Harvest Fields.
Wow.
Yeah, the whole family got baptized.
You actually that's, I was baptized when I was a baby.
Yeah. So was I, but this was now in the Christian faith.
Explain that to me if you don't mind. Explain that to me. What's the purpose of getting baptized again if you're already baptized?
Well, I think the purpose really for us is that I was baptized in the Catholic Church, right? And I didn't really understand the whole premise of being baptized because it's more, I think when you're a child, it's more something your parents are doing as a formality, right? Hey, you want to bring your child into, the church, baptize them, get them blessed by the priest and that stuff. As an adult, it was more coming back to Christ in a sense and realizing that you need a fresh start in your life. And this is you accepting the Lord and Savior into your life.
That's interesting. Wow. All right. I never thought about it like that. But it makes perfect sense because obviously I don't remember my baptism.
No, I couldn't tell you either.
But if I chose to get baptized again right now, I guess it would have more significance.
I think it had a huge significance because the other thing too is I think in the Catholic faith, when you're baptized, the priest is holding you. There's just like the little bowl of water. They pour it over you, and that's it. You're going in the pool.
You're getting dunked.
Like it's a pool.
Really?
Literally, you're soaked when you come out. So
correct me if I'm wrong though. In this is a Christian church?
Christian church, yes.
Do they not have the Eucharist?
The bread?
Yeah,
they do.
Every
not every week. They do it once a month.
Not every week.
Not every week.
And they do the blood?
They do the wine. Yeah, same thing. So
what other differences are there between the Christianity and the Catholic faith?
I would say,
because let me just ask you. Let me just tell you why I'm saying this. Because in my mind, I'm like, yo, we all believe in Jesus, and that's it. We're good, right? Like how we believe in Him and what we do and whatever. As long as you believe that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, I feel like that. All right. I can walk into a Christian church. I can walk into a Pentecostal church. I can walk into a church because we all believe in Jesus. We're on the same side. But then I understand and I see online that there are some people that are super, like, very much like, no. Christianity is not the same as Catholicism.
No, it's
and
very
Pentecostal
different.
is not. It's very different.
Very
you see what I mean?
Very different because I feel like in the other faiths, it's very regimented, right? So when I walk in the harvest fields, we go to 11 a.m. service, right?
Okay.
11 a.m. service. As soon as 11 a.m. hits, it's worship time. The choir's singing, they're doing their thing. We do at least 2 or 3 worship songs, excuse me. And in them doing those worship songs, you could really feel the spirit moving in the room, right? The presence of God is there, and then they go into the sermon a little bit after that, right? So I feel like when you walk into the Catholic church, it's like, okay, let's say the Our Father, kneel down, stand up, kneel down, stand up. Like my father used to have a joke. He's like, these kneel down, stand up churches. He's like, this is too much. My knees is not built for this, But that was the regimented style of the church to me, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's cool. But this is more, I feel like, of accepting of people in the terms of, hey, God didn't choose the person that was perfect per se. He chose the person that was imperfect and made them to lead in many ways.
Interesting. What's it like being a girl dad?
Oh, that's a roller coaster. I don't win no arguments in my house, So literally, there's different personalities, right? I always say,
well, shit, you're in a house with 4 women.
Exactly.
Exactly. Y'all ever leave the house on time?
So my thing is, I'm in the car. See y'all when you get outside. So they know I'm a stickler for time. Like even coming here, that's why I asked you for the address, because I wanted to know, like, all right, what the parking situation is. So if I have to park on the street or I'm going in a lot, at least I'm ahead of time opposed to behind time. And they all know, they like, Dad does not want to be late, right? Like I believe in that, I need to be 15, 20 minutes early for whatever I'm doing. So we try not to be late, but obviously there's always somebody that forgot something inside or whatever, but we still make it work. But it's definitely a lot of fun, honestly, to answer your question. And I enjoy it. I have really good friends that have sons. I don't know what it's like to have a son, right? So I live kind of vicariously through them, their kids are my nephews, right?
Gotcha.
Their boys are my nephews, and I could roughhouse with them. Whereas girls, you got to be a little bit more gentle. You can't walk in and body slam them.
Yeah, no. You are not. You're not hitting them with a leg drop.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
So, but do you try to instill? What is the most important thing that you try to instill on the girls as a father?
I would say just being kind to people, right? Treat people how you want to be treated, right? So, and I think even for myself, right? I look at, if we take it to business, I want to treat my clients the way I would want to be treated in any situation that I'm doing a form of business, whether it's, buying a car, buying a house, or, maybe a piece of furniture. I want to make sure that I'm being treated with the same level of respect, and I want to make sure that same level of respect is being given back to anyone that I'm working with.
I think that golden rule is more important. I don't know. Let me rephrase. I think that golden rule is just as important as the 10 Commandments.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
That's the one thing my father. So I grew up in a household where my mother was Catholic. My father was Jewish. My father believed that we should be raised the religion of our mom, so I was raised in the Catholic Church. But my father was very much like they had it was like this joke, and it's not even a joke. It was an actual organization, like Jews for Jesus, right? So like my father obviously believed in his faith, but he allowed us to believe in our faith and never tried to instill that upon us. But the one thing that he always used to tell me was that the golden rule: you do unto others as you want done unto yourself.
Absolutely.
And that's how you treat people.
Definitely.
And I think that is important that you instill that upon them, because it's just it pays forward, right? Like if you're kind to somebody, they're gonna be kind to somebody else. And if everybody was just kind, think about it, if everybody in the world was just kind to everybody else,
be a totally different place.
Right?
Totally different place. We would be in a different society. We probably wouldn't have the different issues in the world that we have if that was the case.
It's amazing, right? So if you're watching this right now, please just be kind. Go smile at somebody that you see today. Do something nice. Go out of your way to make somebody's day, and you're just going to make this world a better place.
Definitely. And I think, to your point there, Steve, right, we think about the neighborhoods that you grew up in, right? So you grew up in the Bronx, I grew up in Harlem. In the various neighborhoods, when in those neighborhoods there's like you can't be soft, right? Like you got to have that ice grill kind of face when you're walking around, because you don't know who the other people are that you're dealing with. And if I could bring it full circle, working in Scarsdale when I was parking cars, my first year or two working there, like the mail guy would go by, hey, good morning.
Yeah.
UPS guy, hey, good morning. Now somebody that works next door, they say, hey, good morning, because they see me in the parking lot moving around, right? By year 2, 3, I'm the guy that's doing that, right?
You're the guy.
Because now it just became accepted, whereas where I grew up and where I came from, that wasn't the norm. You know what I mean?
But I feel like you're right. It is not the norm, but there are plenty of people that are living in those communities that are that way.
Yes.
And I feel like it just they get overshadowed by all of the bullshit and all of the people that are just miserable out there trying to commit crimes and do this and try to be that tough guy, that ice grill.
True.
When they just need to just show love.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because as I was telling you before, I would go between Harlem and Brooklyn to go visit my dad. So I feel like in Brooklyn, it was a predominantly West Indian community, right? You had Trinidadian people, Jamaican, Haitian, Grenadian, all kinds of cultures from the West Indies. And in the West Indian culture per se, if I saw you and you were my neighbor and I didn't say hello to you, that got back to my parents in no time, right? So
because those came from the original countries.
Exactly. So that was just the way of life for them, right? So literally, like, I could go visit my dad, and as I'm walking down the street, I see Mr. Bob, I see this guy, I see that guy, and I made sure, hey, how are you? And keep going. And it was to the point that, God rest his soul, when my dad was still alive, he would say, oh, one of the neighbors was looking for you the other day. And I was like, which one? He's like, I don't know these people's names. He's like, you know them better than me. And I'm like, really, Dad? And, and it was funny because it was really that much, because he had a neighbor, and I think the guy still lives there. His name is Mike, Jamaican dude. And he used to be like, yo, Andrew, what's going on, bro? You good? So he would always show me love when I would come through to visit him, especially, as time went on and I got older and I started driving, I would pull up in a different car every once in a while. He's like, all right, you're doing good. I see you, So
I see you.
It was pretty cool, because like I knew the neighbors, even though I didn't live there, but I knew the neighbors, and I had different relationships with each of those people that lived on his street.
I want to switch gears a little bit. So you own a company called Gill Payment Solutions?
That's correct.
And so tell me, how did you first get the entrepreneurial bug? How long have you had the company, and how did you originally come up with this idea?
Sure. So
and tell me just a little bit about what you do. I think it's credit card processing, correct?
Correct. So we're a credit card processing and point of sale company. So obviously the main thing that we do is credit card processing, but that's not what we're limited to. We offer, point of sale systems. We do e-commerce, many different industries that we serve. And to answer your question in terms of how I got, the entrepreneurial spirit, I think it's been in me since I was a kid, honestly. But I was working in corporate America for a long time. So I worked for various credit card processing companies throughout my time in this industry. And COVID was the culprit to actually, kind of move forward and do my own thing. As I was telling you in the beginning, I had a lot of clients that used to say to me, hey, why can't you do this for yourself? Why do you have to work for a company? Because the common denominator for all of them is they would say to me, you're the guy that I know. I don't know the company behind you. I know you. So I would say 2020, 2021, I was working for a corporation, which I rather not say.
Sure, no
but
problem.
I was fed up, right? I was 100 pounds heavier at the time, and I was having heart pains where like my chest was racing every day, right? This was, in the COVID time. I'm in my little home office downstairs that I call my lair, and I'm down there in my lair, and I'm just like, I go upstairs to my wife, and I'm like, my chest don't feel good. She's like, all right, well, you need to go to the doctor. So I called the doctor, scheduled an appointment, called my manager, told him, hey, listen, I'm ending the day early. I won't be online for anything. I need to go check my heart out. Something's going on. Fast forward, that led to a 30-day leave of absence. And in that time, I actually started the company.
Was that leave of absence, did the doctor say you had to take it, or you just...
They didn't say I needed to take it, but I took it as an opportunity to see if I could actually do this full-fledged by myself.
Do you think your body was just rejecting that situation that you were in, and it was just telling you?
I think so, because what ended up happening was we got like maybe to like 28 days of the 30 of leave of absence. So I called the doctor, and I'm doing a follow-up visit with her. And I said to her, I said, doc, I think I need another 30 days. And she said, no, Andrew. She said, you don't need another 30 days. You don't like your job. So you need to get a new job. And that was the writing on the wall for me when she said that to me.
What made you ask if you needed another 30 days?
Well, actually, it was more me wanting her to give me the extra 30 days, right?
Why? Because you didn't want to go back?
I didn't want to go back.
But that's kind of what I'm getting at, right?
I didn't want to go back. I made up my mind I didn't want to go back.
But then you didn't also want to quit right away, because now you're leaving that safety net of having
exactly,
a job.
right? Because I was looking at it from the perspective initially that I would be jumping out a window with no parachute, right? So literally, I remember it like it was yesterday. I go back to work. Day 1, chest pains are back. Day 2, same thing. And on day
so they didn't grant you 30 days, so you went back to work.
I went back to work, yes.
Oh, and then you go back, okay, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Day 1, chest pains.
Yep. Day 2, same thing. And after that, on day 2, I stand up downstairs in my house. My wife had her little work area upstairs. And I go up to her and I'm like, listen, babe. I was like, I'm done with this. I was like, I'm going to give him my notice. And she's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to do it. I said, but I need to know that you support this. And she says to me, she's like, excuse me. She says, I've never seen you fail yourself. So why would you fail yourself now when it's for you? And I'm like, are you sure? She's like, stop questioning what I'm saying and just do what you got to do. And I went back downstairs to my little area, wrote my boss an email. I said, we need to have a conversation, and hit send. And literally, I kid you not, it was like no less than 15 minutes that he called me and said, what's going on, right? And I explained to him, I said, listen, I've been unhappy for quite a while here, and I just have to move on. So I'm tendering my resignation, giving you the 2 weeks notice, being respectful. I understand I have a portfolio of clients currently that you guys are going to have to move to another relationship manager that's here. And I'm willing to, work through it with them to give them the information that they need so that they know all of the particulars with these particular clients. So he's like, all right, I'm going to accept the resignation, but I do want to come back to you with something. And I'm like, okay, what does he want to come back to me? So what I didn't know at the time was his boss is a gentleman that I met originally when I first got the job. And that guy actually took a liking to me. In him taking a liking to me, what my current boss came to me with was, hey, listen, we would like to retain you here. We're curious if you would go into one of the other divisions that may be more of the speed of what you're looking to do opposed to what you've been doing. And I politely declined him. And he said, that's fine. I totally understand why you're declining it. And from there, I just hit the ground running.
So at that moment, you tendered your resignation, you put in your 2 weeks, and now, all right, so now it's day one.
Day one.
Now, what does day one look like?
Day one was just back in the street, right? Going.
Well, you immediately went back. So you went. So the field that you were in, credit card processing, is where you wanted to stay. That
Correct.
lane.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you decided that.
Yes.
And now day one. So what does day one look like? What in your mind? What is it you have to accomplish on day one?
So day one was really just reconnecting with people that I had already built relationships with, because kind of what happened is that I was in a segment working with the bank doing merchant services that I was only dealing with multi-million-dollar clients, right?
Okay.
So the clients that I was working with the bank was only 10 million plus that we could touch.
10 million plus in gross revenue.
Gross revenue, correct.
So you're talking about almost $1 million a month in business they're doing.
Exactly.
Those are big clients.
Exactly. So if they weren't doing that kind of revenue, if you were a true small business, think, your local pizzeria,
you're not doing
that. They didn't want those clients, right?
Yep.
But that was my core group of people that many of them, I think at the time I had 25 to 30 people that they still had my direct cell phone number, that they're like, whenever you decide something different, please give me a call.
Gotcha.
So immediately those 25, 30 businesses that I had fostered these great relationships with, I went back to.
How did you, just walk me through and explain to me how you set up your infrastructure. Like, if you're going to go out and do your own thing, I imagine you have to have a company that's going to process these payments.
Correct.
The business aspect of it is what I'm curious about as well.
Sure.
Like
so what I had to do was I built partnerships with the various processors.
Okay.
And in building partnerships.
Are there a lot of processors out there? Like,
there's 5 large processors, right?
Okay.
So if you think of, say, ExxonMobil, right, the gas stations, they deal with a company called Fiserv, right?
Okay.
If you go to Citi Field, you'll see Clover, which is one of the primary POS systems that are out there.
Yep.
That's made by that company, right?
Gotcha.
So at the end of the day, I have a relationship that allows me to be a reseller of Clover.
Okay.
I have relationships that allow me to sell other systems and devices based on what the client's needs are, right? So my biggest niche with people is, let's understand your business, and then once we understand your business, we could tailor the solution around your business.
So of those 5 major ones, do you take different clients to different ones, or do you have a relationship with one that you're able to then?
It's two that I have a relationship with, and then I decide where we're gonna put them, right?
Understood.
So like, for instance, if we were talking to you and you owned a pizzeria and you said, hey, I need a system that's going to do delivery, I need a system that's going to do this, I need a system that's going to do that, then I would say, you know what, I think this system is going to be best suited for you, Steve. Why don't we look at this? We can do a demo for it. And then from there, if you like everything that you've seen, then we can move to the next steps of actually, moving forward to do business.
All right, so day one, I'm going to go back to that. You're just reconnecting with those small to mid-size businesses and saying, hey, I'm doing my own thing now. I'd love to have the opportunity. Like, what did that conversation sound like?
So literally, I would say at least 10 of those people that I called, they said, just come see me and let's do the paperwork. There was no hesitation on their part. One of them, in fact, it's a bagel store in Yonkers that I do business with. He sold the business, and in him selling the business, when the new owner bought it, he actually said to the owner verbatim, he said, listen, you could change everything in this business. Do not change Andrew. He said, he's been here for me whenever I needed anything. He's like, he's your guy, and you need to continue to work with him. Now, this gentleman, he didn't know me. He was skeptical, so he's like, I don't know what he's telling me. He actually called me probably 2 years into the relationship and said, he's like, wow, everything I was told about you is 100%.
You know what the interesting thing is about your business? And I've been a customer, not of yours, but I've been a customer of many different credit card processing. And what I've realized is, like, that initial conversation when they're trying to win your business, and you and I talked about this a little bit, when the credit card processing companies and when the sales rep is trying to win your business, they're your best friend. They're calling you every day. They're answering your calls. They're doing all these different things. But then once you sign that paperwork, they ghost you. And I feel like if I didn't get ghosted, and so let me just go back. And the reason that I have no loyalty to them is because they ghosted me and they were never there to support me. Because your business is very cutthroat.
Yes.
Whatever your percentages are, I don't know what they are. I mean, if you want to share, whatever it is, but whatever it is, let's just say you're charging whatever, 50 cents a swipe or whatever it is. Like, if somebody's offering me 45 cents a swipe, I'm out the door because I have no relationship with that person. So to your point, if you're there to service that account, and whether big or small, I think that probably is a huge reason as to why you've been able to last in this business that long.
I would say if we kind of go back, like in terms of building a relationship with the businesses, one of the things that I was told early on when I was on the corporate side of this was sign them and forget it, right? So it goes back to what you're saying, right?
Christ.
And
sorry, God.
Jeez
Louise.
The first thing I thought in my head when I heard that,
Yo,
Steve,
I can't stand that shit. You see what I'm saying? I knew I wasn't bugging.
No,
every single one of them fucking dipped. I knew it.
But listen,
see how pissed I get?
Exactly.
Yo,
but
that
I
shit
can
pissed me
understand.
off.
But I can understand why you get pissed, because the first thought I had in my head when I heard that was, if I'm supposed to try to retain this client, because obviously there's another revenue component to this for me. If I set it and forget it, how long am I going to have this client, right? Because attrition is real, right?
Yeah.
So the numbers that I've heard in my time doing this is that the average client is about 18 months, right? And I could tell you that I have clients that have been 16 years.
And I feel like 18 months is accurate because it gives you enough time to say, all right, I know these people. They're not going to do shit for me.
Yep.
And I'm looking for something new. But it's also going to take you about 3 or 4 months to find the right company.
Correct.
Because, again, and this is me speaking as a consumer, like I go out and I start, all right, so the last guy never showed up. Are you sure you're going to do this? And I speak to 4 or 5 other people. And listen, being a business owner, as you know, we're busy. We're doing this, whatever it may be. So it's like we don't have the time to just spend on that. And then it's like, all right, send me your statements. That's always the first thing. Send me your statements. By the way, those statements are confusing as fuck.
That's by design.
Yeah, no
That's
shit.
by design.
No shit, man.
So what I would say to that is something that we have built in within the company, and Diamond works with me, my oldest daughter, right? So part of her daily task is, hey, who haven't we spoke to in the last 30 days?
That's fucking awesome.
Please reach out to them, right? And my wife kind of laughs every once in a while. She's like, you call these people too much. I said,
No,
there's
don't.
never too much.
No.
And she's like, yeah, I'm tired. I said, I'm doing it for a reason. So that's one aspect of what we do. The other aspect of what we like to do is, if I'm in a neighborhood and I got 5 clients there, I'm trying to pop in on those people.
Yeah, that's big too.
Right? So because out of sight, out of mind, right?
Yeah.
So it goes back to what you were saying, is that if you don't see me, you don't hear from me, that other guy that's coming in and say, hey, give me your statements, it might be a little bit easier for you to get that statement.
Bro, in real estate, right, we have this thing called the 36 touch plan, right? So, if we did like a 36 touch plan, so a touch consists of a text message, a phone call, an email. It could be face-to-face, or it could be a direct mail, like a holiday card, birthday card. And we have to touch our clients. They train us to touch our clients 36 times a year. And that's at a minimum. My touch plan is more like 72, 80 because I'm sending monthly newsletters, I'm doing all this stuff, whatever the case may be. But the reason why they train us to do that is because when they think of real estate, you want them to think of you.
Yeah,
and
same.
what you're doing is you have your own touch system that you've created, and that is going to go way further. Can I just tell you something? That if my sales rep would have called me once every quarter and said, hey, I'd love to review your last month's statement with you just to explain everything on it, I would have never left nowhere.
So
they could have been charging me way more than the other people. I would have stayed only because they did that. And I'm telling you, dude, like my business that I had, I owned a bar in the city, and I dealt with this. Like, it was 90% credit cards.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say how much my gross was, but it was up there.
Yeah,
and
because
it
everybody's
was a decent
throwing a card
account. Somebody was
at
making
you.
money off me,
Yeah.
and they wasn't doing nothing for it. And then when the POS system went down, the POS went down because what they do is, and I'm preaching to the choir, but what some of the sales reps would do to me was they would say, okay, we'll give you free POS. And then
But
I'm
nothing's
like,
free.
But then they wouldn't service it.
Yeah.
So then I'm calling them, emailing them, nothing.
So let me ask you a question now. In those scenarios, were you dealing with the rep directly, or are you dealing the 800 number?
I was dealing with, no, I had a cell, dude. I thought it was a cell. It's probably his work phone.
Probably his work phone.
Yeah. It was,
So
I
that's
remember it was a
another
631
differentiator.
number. The dude's name was Trevor. Yo, I remember. Yo, I'm telling you, this dude scarred me, bro. I'm telling you, he fucking screwed me, bro.
So one of the other things too with the POS is that we know the POS. We make ourselves an admin on many of the systems. So if we're talking Clover, which is our popular system, I have a login to the system. So a lot of times you might call me your busy bar on a Friday night, and this has happened, right?
Yep.
One of my clients, busy Greek restaurant in Poughkeepsie, Andrew, listen, we're slammed tonight. Can you shut off the online ordering? No
Oh, okay.
problem. Done. But mind you, Steve, I'm at dinner with my family. And my wife's looking at me like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I got to do this.
Such is the conundrum of being an entrepreneur, buddy.
Exactly.
That's it. Yeah. But that's good, man. That's really good to hear that there are people out there like that in your industry, because I'm telling you, dude, you could tell how scarred I was by these people.
And listen, you're not the only one, right? Because a lot of times, when I walk into a business, if I'm walking in cold, they have that same remorse, right? That the last person that was here. So my whole job is to, hey, I'm not here to necessarily sell you on anything, but I'm here to show you the difference of who I am, who my company is, and how we operate. At the end of our conversation, if you feel comfortable enough with everything that I've said and we move forward and do business, awesome. If not, we part ways as friends. You have my business card. Something ever happens with who you're dealing with, you give me a call.
What would you say your goal is in the next 5 to 10 years in your business?
So my goal in the next 5 to 10 years is actually to build out a team of people, anywhere between 10 to 15 people, have a office full with staff, at least 5 to 6 sales reps out actually doing their thing, as well as tech support in-house, right? Where we're not necessarily relying 100% on, say, a 1-800 number for certain things, because one thing that I've seen that's problematic is that, and you alluded to it before, is that business owners don't have time to sit on the phone with support, right? Which is why many of our clients, they have our cell phone numbers, because the longer you sit on hold with support is the longer you're getting frustrated and you're not servicing your customers. And one thing I like to say to people is that, hey, you are a business owner. You're good at running your restaurant, your pizzeria, your bagel store, whatever it is. I'm great at doing the credit card processing and making sure your point of sale system is working properly. So allow me to do that for you so you could do what you're great at.
The two things that they go hand in hand, right? The POS system and troubleshooting the POS system and the credit card processing.
Correct.
Because the POS system is like the lead indicator, right? So like you fall in love as a business owner, you fall in love with the POS system, and then you're able to offer the credit card processing as a lag indicator, right? So like if you're I think you're doing it intelligently, because you're really focusing on that lead factor, right? And then your main business is over here. It's the lag, but the support that you're offering for the support that you're offering for the POS system is what's going to differentiate you from anybody else. Because if I had a guy walk in and say, look, who's your credit card processor? Because, you get the cheesy phone calls, the spam risks or whatever. It's like, change your credit card processing. We'll charge you whatever, 50 cents less a swipe or whatever whatever
Yeah,
they're selling.
and typically
But
businesses are getting...
If you walked in there and said, I'm a family man, I'm a family-owned business, and I'm here to support your POS, and then hopefully... and then from there, my real money's made over here, and somebody said that to me, and I was able to talk to you and see you, it'd be a much different story.
And in many cases, right, Steve, that's where a lot of businesses has actually been won, right? So I had a situation with a client in Yonkers that literally, I think it was our second appointment, and the guy is like, I'm not interested, get out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, no problem. I politely left. About a month later, his wife called. And, I picked up. I said, hello, how are you? We had a conversation, and she said, I want you to come back. I think my husband was a little harsh when you were here last, and he didn't really grasp how things work.
Was he an old-timer?
He was an old school dude, right? And when I got there, he immediately apologized. And he said, listen, I want to welcome you back into the business. I want to revisit our conversation. So I said to him, if you don't mind, I'm just kind of curious, what changed? And his comment was, he said, the entire time that I spoke with you, you actually never told me what was in this for you. You told me how you can help me. You showed me how you can help me, and you gave me visuals of how you can help me, right? He said the other gentleman that I've been talking to, every time he was here, he said to me, his house is very poor, and I need your account so I can make money. And
that's not a great way to sell.
It left a
processing.
Exactly. It left a bad taste in the guy's mouth, essentially. And what he said to me was, he said, what you said, he said, when I talked to you, I learned who you were as a person that you have children, a wife, kids, but you never said, I need your account so that you can make money.
Your business, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, is really more about retention than it is about acquisitions.
Retention is important because obviously you don't want to gain, say, 10 accounts this month and have 10 accounts at the end of the month leave because you just,
it's a wash.
So,
net zero.
It's really about retaining who you have, continuing to grow the portfolio of business, and, gaining solid accounts, right? Accounts that, obviously it's quality over quantity.
Gotcha. Businesses that you believe in that will be able to sustain, because businesses are going, listen, small businesses, mid-sized businesses go out of business all the time.
All the time.
So if you sign them up and then 6 months later they're out of business.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of work. A lot of work. What are some problems that some people are having with their credit card processing that maybe they don't know about and maybe they should reconsider and reach out to you?
So I think the biggest thing or biggest problem or even misconception that we see when we speak to people is that there's only one rate that they pay, right? So you were talking about it before about, if it's 50 cents a transaction or 45 cents. I think educating the merchant or the client on how things truly work is the most important thing that we could do. Whether or not we do business with them, that's the most important thing for us, right? Also understanding the technology that you have. I can't tell you how many businesses that we go into that they could have a Clover POS system from, say, their bank or another company, and they're using it as a glorified cash register, right? So in those scenarios, what I like to do is say, hey, has anybody trained you on this system? Has anybody actually showed you how to use this system? And, we have a pretty large client up the line here in Connecticut that they have 10 POS systems from us. We spent 10 hours doing the installation of that system. I had 2 of my colleagues there with me. So we were there from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. We did soup to nuts, installed all of the systems, and then trained the entire restaurant staff to make sure that once we left that business, that everybody felt comfortable. And then from there, that's where the real work began for me, because I was there once a week to make any edits or changes to make sure that the system worked right.
Can I ask you a question though? And maybe I'm missing something here.
Sure.
But like you are a credit card. Your company is primarily based on credit card processing.
Correct.
But you're talking about installing POS systems. Explain to me.
It goes hand in hand for us, right? So we're a one-stop shop, basically.
That's different then. I've never experienced that. I've bought from a POS company. Whatever. I'm not going to say any names, even though I want to shout you fuckers out. But I bought from a POS company, and then they just said, if we're going to give you the free POS, and then you got to do the credit card processing. I've never dealt with a credit card processor that says, okay, well, we're going to come install your POS system. That's I feel like that differentiates. Differentiates you from other people, is what I'm saying.
Correct. So it's kind of changed over the years, right? So you're not wrong. I would say, if we're going back 10, 15 years ago, you would have bought maybe a Micros POS system, and the Micros dealer would have told you, hey, you got to go get a credit card processor now, right? Nowadays, the way it works is that we're all in one, right? So we're a single service provider in the fact that, yes, credit card processing is our main bread and butter, but we do offer the point of sale solutions along with the credit card processing. So in many cases, I may go into a meeting where I'm talking about the POS system to start, and then the credit card processing is the last piece of what I'm talking about and not the first piece.
When you're talking about installing POS systems, like I've done it a couple times, like that's not easy.
I mean, if you're the client, right, or the merchant, it's not easy for you because you don't know what you're doing, right? So the whole benefit of us coming in is that I would never want my client to try to install a POS system themselves that they don't know of.
So I've tried it. Trust me, I've tried it. But what I'm saying is, like, it's not just necessarily turning an iPad on or turning on a computer. There's wires that have to be run. You have to connect to the network. You have to make sure you have a local network.
Correct.
So you're bringing in you're bringing in employees or subcontractors that are in there that nothing to do technical. You're just making sure the internet and the network is working.
That is correct. So
you have to have a different type of knowledge.
Correct. So the knowledge is very different.
And running a wire from the 3rd floor down to the 1st floor.
So that aspect I'm not doing.
Okay.
Right? I do have a gentleman, shout out to my guy, Nava AV. My guy Nagasaki, he actually does running wires. So he has a whole company that what he does
Understood. Okay.
is he runs Cat 5, he does TVs in high-end homes and businesses, camera systems. So when I run into that scenario where, say, for the merchant that's got 10 POS systems that we're putting in, I'll call him up, hey, Naga, I need you to come do the wiring job for me. He gives me an invoice, we take care of it. But the benefit of having someone like him on our team is that he's verifying all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not falling on me because, as you mentioned, the problem that happens is that now if I'm going to say I'm dealing with IT work, that IT work now comes back to me.
Yeah.
And that's not my wheelhouse,
Yeah,
right?
that's
So
where I was going with it.
exactly. So what I will tell the client is, hey, listen, we have someone that we rely on. They are an outside company. I can reach out to them. We get a quote on what it's going to be for them to do this work. And then we could have them come in and do the pre-work before we install your POS system. Because the other part of it too is that if they have a bad network, doesn't matter what system I put in there, it's never going to work right on a busy Friday or Saturday night.
That. Yeah, dude. Because the worst part is that the shit always goes down on Friday night when you're slammed at the bar. And then all of a sudden you can't ring up checks and you have to start doing cash and you have to sit there and get the old school checkbooks and write it down. Like,
here's one of the biggest benefits
and what
of all
about
the
this? You
systems
can't
we
even
do.
open the damn cash register if it's not connected to the internet.
With us, you can.
Bro, can you tell I was scarred?
Yes, definitely. I could tell. I could tell that wound is still open. It didn't heal yet. But one of the biggest things, though, with us, right, Steve, is that our systems have an offline mode. All of them have an offline mode. So, being that we're in Connecticut right now, we have a busy bar up in Bridgeport called Bryac that we work with, and they have gone down before. But the benefit in them going down, and I say, you hear that I said benefit, the system still was working. They could ring up checks, they could open the cash drawer, orders were still going to their kitchen because they have an offline mode that allows them to still function even though the system is not fully up in terms of the network. So the benefit there is that they don't have to lose any transactions ever because of that offline mode.
Interesting. What's your pitch besides what you walk into a busy business right now, and what's your pitch? How are you approaching them? Is it really like, are you happy with your business? Are you happy with it? Or is it more so like from the educational standpoint of like, do you know what you're paying?
So my biggest thing is I never walk in wanting to find out what they're paying necessarily. I'm walking in looking to have a conversation. So, for example, you mentioned you had a restaurant. So if I walked into your restaurant, I would say, hey, good afternoon. Is the owner or manager around, right? That's literally how I start every time. And they say, yeah, who's asking? My name is Andrew. I'm from Guild Payment Solutions. Just wanted to have a quick conversation, make an introduction of myself and my company. I still haven't told you who I am, what I'm truly there for, or what it is I do, right? In most cases, the person will go get a manager or an owner, and I just introduce myself. Hey, Steve, nice to meet you. My name is Andrew Gill. I'm the owner of Guild Payment Solutions. We offer credit card processing and point-of-sale systems for small businesses like yourself. Not sure who you use currently, but would love the opportunity to at least have a conversation with you on how we might be able to potentially help you or your business, right? Now, you might stop me and say, hey, I'm all set. I'm happy. I love what I have. And that's really where I pivot, and I'll say, hey, Steve, that's awesome to hear. If anything ever changes, here's my business card. Please hold on to it. Feel free to ever give me a call if you need anything. Now, on the flip side, if it's different and you actually say, you know what, I've been having issues getting a hold of this guy that I deal with or this girl that I deal with. I don't get my money in time. I'm having delays. The system goes down every Friday night. I say, well, can we set up a time? I'm going to be in the area next week, Friday, around the same time. Does 2 p.m. work for you? Can I stop back next week, Friday at 2 p.m. so we can sit down and have a conversation? You may say, you know what, Andrew, that sounds good. Let's do that. And when I come back, now that gives me an opportunity to understand your business a little bit better, right? Because now I can have you explain to me in greater detail what's happening with the system, what you're paying in cost. Because I never want to walk in and think that, oh, you're just going to switch because I just appeared, right? Like that's not a logical way to think, right? But at least in me coming in from the standpoint of I'm introducing myself, now you're putting a face to a name, you know who I am. Whether you need me or not, You know who I am. You know my company's out there. And then you could also check us out on Google. You could check the website. You could see the work that we've done already. You could look at Instagram. You could see the different things that we do. And that just helps from a credibility standpoint.
Would you say that you're building this business to change your life or to change your kids' lives?
I would say to change my kid's life. My oldest daughter, she started working in the business with me about 2 to 3 years ago when she was actually trying to get a job while she was in college because she's down at Iona. And she's like, nobody wants to hire me. She's like, can I work with you? Now, mind you, I was trying to get her to work with me from when she was 17 and she didn't want to do it. So in that, she's been working with me. And my middle daughter, Destiny, is always like, you don't love this business. I love daddy's business more than you, right? I'll go cold calling with him any day of the week. I'll go do, so, between the two of them, it's always like, jokes at dinner time of who wants it more, right? So just seeing their excitement over the business just has me thinking, wow, when I decide I don't really want to beat the street anymore or do this that much and maybe just be in an office and kind of lead the charge and make sure everything is moving from a day-to-day perspective, that they would be willing to step up and actually, make sure things are really thriving.
That is a beautiful answer, dude. Like, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I grew up in a household, right? So like my father, he used to say, there was 5 of us, right? So it's me, my 2 older brothers, my mother, and my father, right? So he would say, hey, look, as individuals, we're 5 fingers, but as a family, you're a fist. And you have more power and you have more strength. And his dream was always that he would build, we would have a real estate company, all of us. And that's exactly where we are today, right? Like my older brother does property management. My middle older brother is an attorney, and I'm a real estate agent. My father's no longer with us, but he's still here in spirit and with us every single day. So like what you're doing with your daughters, like you have no idea the impact. Like I'm an example of it, growing up in a household where my dad wanted me to work in the business.
It's beautiful.
And I rejected it for a long time, but it ends up coming back to you. And I feel like religion is the same way, right? Like you reject when everybody's trying to push it on you, but then as long as you have it subconsciously somewhere to go to, and you providing that for your girls is absolutely, it's admirable, to be honest with you, bro.
I appreciate
that. Like that is really admirable. All right, so if you had to say what you wanted your legacy to be after you're long gone, Andrew Gill meant this to me. What would you like that to say?
I would say it would be, man of his word, stand-up guy, always went hard for, what he wanted and took care of his family, because at the end of the day, like you, my dad's no longer here with me. So it's my mom and my grandmother. My grandmother's 101. And if my mother calls me right now, I'm going running. Like that's just the guy I am, right? Like she had an accident a few years ago where she fell, and my wife was pregnant with my daughter, and I'm like, we got to go. And I'm doing 100 miles per hour on the Taconic to get to her to make sure that she was good. So, when it comes to my family, my friends that have been around me for a long time that are, brothers to me, it's the same thing, right? That, hey, if I need him, I know that he's there for me, right? So I would say that would be the biggest thing, that everybody knew that if they needed someone to have their back, that I had their back.
It is now your daughters are adults. They have their own kids. What would you like them to hear from you right now? What message would you like to say to them? And you're no longer around. What do you talk directly to your daughters?
I would say I'm proud of them. They're doing an amazing job, and just keep going hard every day.
The reason why I always ask that question is because, like I don't have any footage or video or recording of my father talking to me. And I felt that it was important for people, and I wanted to give people a platform. And I had explained this to you. I wanted to give them a platform to be able to leave something for their loved ones. And the whole purpose of this entire podcast is so that way people have a platform, and giving people a platform to talk to their loved ones, to see their loved ones, and to leave something behind for them. So I want to just pivot to you take that camera right there.
Okay.
Just tell people how to get in touch with you, and any last words before you log off for the day.
So I just want to say thank you to you for having me on. This was amazing. Thank you to my boy Eddie Hueso.
Eddie
Make sure we
Hueso!
say that correct for the connection. And then anyone that wants to get in contact with us, they can hit us up on IG at Gill Payment Solutions. The website is www.gillpaymentsolutions.com, or you can shoot us an email at info@gillpaymentsolutions.com.
Amazing. Everybody, this has been another episode of the Padernacht podcast, okay? And thank you so much for being here, bro. I truly appreciate it. And big shout out to Claudio from Kai Visions. If you need somebody to help you do your podcasting, reach out to Claudio. He will be able to take care of you. Also, big shout out to Mike Press, who made a guest appearance today on the Content Game. So everybody reach out to those two guys, all right? Take care, everybody, and see you guys next week.